It's always good to be back home in the Southeast side. As you know, I'm just a brother from Dove, on 21st and Dove to be exact. And it's always good to be in the house of the Lord. And so I want to just give a special acknowledgement to the Reverend Dr. Stitt for having me. And she is a fierce warrior for this city and a fierce warrior for social justice. I remember the first time I met Dr. Stitt during the campaign. And she told me, she says, listen here, young man, run, 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 and don't let anything get in your way. And so I'm just so grateful to have social justice praying warriors like Dr. Stitt on my side. So thank you for having me. And on behalf of my pastor, Dr. Colvin, thank you for having me here today. It is an honor to be in the presence of Ms. McCoy as we celebrate the National Action Network and Black History Month. And as my pastor, I'm not going to hold you too long, but I got a lot on my mind right now as I reflect on my nearly 2 months in office as your mayor. And the thing I want to reflect on, I know that the title of today's theme is Because of You, We Are. Because of you, we are. And just this morning, I had the privilege to welcome Reverend Jesse Jackson to Cleveland. And I couldn't help but reflect on this arc of Black political leadership in America. You know, I think about the fact that we wouldn't have had a Barack Obama or Justin Bibb without a Reverend Jesse Jackson. You wouldn't have a Justin Bibb or Congresswoman Brown or Frank Jackson, or you name it, without Arnold Pinckney. And many folks don't realize that Cleveland has always been at the center of not just Black political leadership, but of American political history, particularly Black political history. But the thing I want to talk about today is the importance of us keeping our eye on the prize. You know, nearly 54 years ago, President Lyndon B. Johnson commissioned what they called the Kerner Commission after we had the Detroit and Huff riots in 1967 to identify how do we do a better job in this nation of uplifting Black Americans. And in that report, there was an important recommendation. The recommendation said that racism was the biggest challenge for Black Americans to achieve their fair share. 50 years later, where are we now? Educational outcomes, Black folks are suffering. Health outcomes, Black folks are suffering. The gap between whites and Blacks nearly is over $3 trillion of GDP, $3 trillion. That shows you that America would be better off if we did a better job of closing the racial wealth gap. So the question is, how did we get here? How did we get here? And I can't help but to think on what I was taught when I was growing up as a poor Black boy on 121st and Dove. I was taught by my grandmother and mother that I had to go off and get my degree, go get a good paying job, go to Shaker or Beechwood or Solon, get that mansion, get that 401k at Key Bank, and whoo, you made it. You made it. But rarely do we tell our young people that you got to come back home. You gotta help Pookie and Sinead and your auntie and uncle to make sure that they have their fair shot. And I dealt with this myself because when I was in middle school, my Black friends who I hung out with on my block and Dove said, "Why are you reading all those books? Why are you speaking the King's English? Why are you wearing a suit and tie to school some days?" Why are you in church from sun up to sundown? But my mom, Charlene, had a different plan. Grandma Sarah had a different plan. And the problem is, in our community, we've forgotten that not just Black history, but American history is rooted in Black excellence. We are rooted in Black excellence. And so as we reflect on month, because I believe that Black history is American history. And as Malcolm X said in Spike Lee's movie, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And we come from a strong lineage of kings and queens. Imhotep, to name a few. We are always have been at the vanguard of excellence in this nation. And so as we think about the next chapter ahead, I believe that Cleveland can show America how to get it done. You know, when I took office on January 3rd, I spent a couple of moments in my desk at City Hall, and I reflected on Carl Stokes' biography, The Power. And one of the things that I continue to reflect on, I have a picture of Carl Stokes in my office, is this idea that Carl Stokes, as the first Black mayor of a major American city, he realized that we as a city could always show America how to get it done. Yes. And I truly believe that it is God's plan for my life. Mm-hmm. God's plan, not my plan. Yeah. God's plan to be a continuation of that journey. Yeah. Now, I won't solve these problems just in my administration, but I see another mayor out here in this audience. I see another member of Congress out here in this audience. And it's my responsibility as a part of what I call the Joshua generation to do my part. And so I've been working around the clock to show you that we are going to use this moment, not just to be a moment, but a movement to get police accountability right in Cleveland. To eradicate the lead paint crisis. And let me tell you this, in just 2 months, nearly 2 months, we have already raised over $100 million to fully fund a lead abatement fund to eradicate lead paint in our city. We are working around the clock with the Department of Justice to make sure we can root out the corruption that exists in our police department. And I've already had significant conversations in this community and also across the country on how I intend to try to raise over $5 billion over the next 10 years to make sure we bring back Cleveland Southeast Side, because I want to see cranes in the sky right here, like we see downtown and the West Side. So in closing, I want to leave you with this. Dr. King spent a lot of time in Cleveland throughout his journey. And I'll never forget the fact that this last rally that he had was a rally with janitors fighting for their fair share of good wages. And in his last address, he says, I see the mountaintop. I might not get there with you, but I see the mountaintop. And as a member of that Joshua generation, I can tell you that I have never been more optimistic about what we can do as a city and as a nation if we dig a little bit deeper, if we look in our own homes and churches and synagogues and places of business to say, how can I help that poor boy or poor woman or my neighbor achieve their potential? Because government can't do it by themselves. That's right. I can't do it by myself as mayor. We the people have to do it together. And black people have to come together to do it. Because if black people don't come together to do it, then who's going to save us but ourselves? So again, I want to say thank you for having me. Let's keep rolling on our sleeves, getting to work. The work must continue. But But now is our time to live out Black excellence every single day. We won't see that. We won't see the promised land until we all raise the game for our people. Thank you so much. God bless you. Appreciate it.